Here in our newsroom, we are working hard to dig into the stories that directly impact our communities.
Although Donald Thomas had a history of domestic problems, a series of decisions kept him out of jail.
Eyewitness News found out what could be done to make at-risk victims more safe and secure.
It worked. For 2 years, nobody who had any contact with the pilot project court was murdered.
Tonight after the game, the latest in our series of special investigative pieces.
We dig into one of the key parts of stopping the cycle of domestic abuse.
It's the first time that you've faced your abuser after you have made the step to leave.
Possibility of coming face to face with an individual that you're asking for protection against.
We find out exactly how one county is trying to reduce the risk.
And when the weather turns, Eyewitness News is the place for what you need to know.
We have you covered from your morning commute.
At this hour, we're looking at greens across the board, so your normal times are what we're expecting.
To the exact timing of when storms will arrive.
The rain looks to arrive around lunchtime here from Huntington and points west. When weather changes, we are the team to trust. Here on the air and just a click away on the Eyewitness News Storm Team Weather app.
See it all right here after the WVU game on Eyewitness News, WCHS-TV.
Here at Eyewitness News, we are covering the stories that matter most to you.
Showing the communities hit hardest by the pandemic.
COVID and the loss of jobs and loss of population, we can't take much more devastation here.
Logan County, it's small, it's tight-knit, and it has one of the highest COVID death rates in the state of West Virginia. On Monday, we take a closer look at the true impacts of COVID deaths on small-town West Virginia.
We're holding the powerful accountable.
The people that control the money should not be able to direct it to themselves or to their peers.
Asking the tough questions.
Do you think it's ethical that a person on city council receives this grant?
So it's a great question.
Our drive isn't to be sensational, it's to get answers.
Now, according to this letter from the state's ethics committee, nobody broke any rules.
From how the pandemic is changing our schools.
For schools that already have mask mandates, there's now going to be less quarantining and less contact tracing.
To how to get to work.
Drivers telling me today they're having a hard time adjusting.
I just don't understand the purpose of it.
And when the weather looks dangerous, we make sure you're prepared.
We've got Tropical Depression Ida in our viewing area now.
The entire state of West Virginia is under a flash flood watch.
That preparation is key, and it could potentially save your house and even your life.
The West Virginia Veterans Nursing Facility in Clarksburg consists of 120 beds that are dedicated to the needs of older state residents who served their country with honor. But a recent decision by the Department of Veterans Assistance added to the financial burden of those facilities' residents.
A call to Eyewitness News Investigate sparked a series of events which led to a policy reversal and money back into the pockets of those veterans.
Charles Cox is 88 years old. He lives at the West Virginia Veterans Nursing Facility in Clarksburg. Before he moved in, Cox had a long and productive life. He's an Army veteran serving in Germany during the Korean War. However, most probably remember him from his post-military career. For decades, he was a South Charleston mainstay, where he worked as a barber right across the street from the mound. Following retirement, his health and other factors led Cox's daughter to place him in a private nursing facility.
He was then in need of long-term care. During the course of the last 5 years, we paid for that care out of his funds, and it came to the point where his resources became exhausted, and we had to find another solution to get his daily needs met.
Baston says the next move for Cox was to the State Veterans Nursing Facility, where he's been for 7 months.
He enjoys it. He enjoys the camaraderie of the other veterans, and he likes it much better than where he was in Charleston.
In Clarksburg, Cox enjoyed free medical care, physical therapy, and prescription drugs. But Baston says that soon changed.
Around the middle of May, we received a letter from the VA that said that they were changing the way that they administered their prescription drugs, and that the veteran would be solely responsible for getting a Medicare Part D plan and then paying all of their co-pays and associated costs for their prescription drugs. His costs have gone from zero to his co-pays being $120 a month.
Baston met with the facility's interim director, Sherry Reed. She was told the new prescription policy would stay.
The answer was that they needed to cut costs and they had discontinued the contract with the Veterans Administration federally.
Baston then contacted a member of the legislature's Veterans Affairs Committee and was promised someone would look into it. She waited 3 weeks and heard nothing back. That's when she contacted Eyewitness News. So we contacted the governor to see what he thought about the decision.
Well, first of all, Kenny, let me thank you guys. I mean, really and truly. The bottom line is you brought it to our attention.
A plan to criminalize camping in Charleston. It's a story we've been following closely since it was first proposed this week. And it's reigniting a hot topic in the city, homelessness. But if it becomes law, will it hold up in court? Danielle Dindak is digging into this for us tonight.
I don't know how anyone could look at the language in the bill and think that it does anything other than target people who live in tent encampments.
Bill 7930 would prohibit camping in public spaces.
A lot of people are looking at this bill and thinking that this is about the homeless population in Charleston, just because it has been such a polarizing topic. Is it because of that?
No, the purpose of the bill is just to ensure equal access. The bill doesn't specifically, recognize anyone via income level or anything like that. It's going to affect everyone the same.
Do you think it's even legal?
No, I think it's unconstitutional.
I don't think anyone a year and a half ago would have said that the worst thing that could have happened in the addiction world is a virus.
Underneath the surface of the COVID-19 pandemic, West Virginia's opioid epidemic is still raging like an out-of-control forest fire. But the coronavirus has dominated our lives in the past year in a way that's left little room to consider much else. There is evidence of real harm caused by the pandemic to those dealing with addiction. A preliminary report from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention shows that West Virginia's reported drug overdose deaths from August of 2019 to August 2020 rose from 816 to 1,147. That's an increase of 40.6%.
If you or someone you know is dealing with addiction and looking for help, you can call that number that was mentioned there. Now that we're seeing a slight uptick again and still at the highest rate in the entire country, Eyewitness News reporter Anna Saunders explains why this time experts on the front line say the crisis is different. And we will warn you that some of these images of infants in withdrawal may be difficult to watch.
Addicted Appalachia, sponsored by WVDHHR Bureau for Behavioral Health.
Born just days ago, he's trying to understand the world he's just been brought into. But his introduction has already been much more challenging than other babies.
Watery stools, tremors, sneezing, tongue thrusting, excessive suck, temperature even at times.
When we were there, 18 babies were in the unit. In 2018, nearly 5% of babies born in West Virginia were born substance exposed. In 2020, that percentage is now 6.5%. Experts say the rise is likely for the same reasons seen throughout the recovery community: fewer in-person meetings and increased isolation. But their biggest barrier has always been the same: stigma.
I found out I was pregnant, and I was in a dark place when I found out.
Tonight, Eyewitness News reporter Anna Saunders takes us into some of our region's classrooms, exploring this issue as teachers try to help the most innocent victims, and experts are trying to get those teachers the support they need.
Today's classroom in West Virginia.
Yeah, the mom would have fur all over her, that's right.
Masks, desk shields, giant bottles of sanitizer. The shifts and changes brought about by the pandemic evident right off the bat.
Good, that's good.
But long before COVID-19 came along, teachers in the state were already wrestling with the crisis, not visible at first glance.
I remember seeing the classroom environment shift about, I'd say, 8 years ago.
Within the last 10 years is when we've really started to see, kids that just come in and they need us.
And those timelines go right along with the CDC's major opioid epidemic waves in 2010 and 2013. And while the focus primarily stays on those experiencing addiction, those who witness it are coming into school every day, carrying with them what they see and hear and go through at home.
You know, we have a shower. They can take showers here if they want. Our custodian is wonderful. She'll wash their clothes.
And for the teachers, when students are in crisis, teaching is no longer the first priority.
I think about if they're warm, if they have a sheet to lay on. Because I remember a little girl saying that she didn't have sheets on her bed or blankets. And I think about that all the time.
What the survey told them was that 72% of teachers hadn't received any addiction training, but that almost 40% of them had at least one student with a person using drugs in the home.
One group fighting drug addiction for underserved communities.
Make me feel like I'm a person, not an addict, not a drug addict, not a criminal, but a person.
How they approach treatment differently.
If there was a way that we could keep children from being abused to begin with, that obviously would be amazing and what we all would wish for, but unfortunately we can't.
As a society, it's our job to keep children safe. But when abuse happens, it's hard for many to wrap their minds around it.
People often ask how we do this work, deal with obviously traumatic and upsetting things day in and day out.
Maureen Runyon listens and cares because just like her title says, she's a child advocate.
And when a child walks through our doors and they feel cared about.
The pandemic unmasking a scary reality for our youth. In West Virginia, referrals to Child Protective Services in 2019 neared 42,000. That figure plummeted by 8,000 cases in 2020, totaling 33,400.
The numbers were not as high in 2020, but that, in my view, doesn't mean that it wasn't happening.
And so there was a big brouhaha over whether he's conducting his business in Lewisburg and Charleston, where he's sleeping at night. So you could say that it was morphing into the surreal and bizarre at times, but pretty soon the governor will be inaugurated and will begin his second term as he continues as the state's 36th governor. We do have team coverage for you today. We touch a little bit upon how unique this ceremony will be this year. With more on that, let's send it over to Eyewitness News reporter Anthony Kahn. Anthony?
And first, the big story here at 5, First Lady of the United States, Jill Biden, arriving at Yeager Airport in Charleston, greeted by a group that included West Virginia's First Lady, Kathy Justice. She then traveled to a vaccine clinic held at Capitol High School. The First Lady spoke at the clinic, encouraging teens and their families to get vaccinated.
She was joined by U.S. Senator Joe Manchin, his wife Gail, and actress and Charleston native Jennifer Garner. First Lady Biden also taking time to pay respects to members of the West Virginia National Guard and their families today for all the work they've done out ahead of this COVID-19 pandemic. Jill Biden departed Yeager Airport just about a half hour ago.
And the message behind today's visit, vaccinating children will save lives. Eyewitness News reporter Danielle Dindak has been covering the First Lady's visit for us today.
Right now, with breaking news.
They are monsters and they abused our children, and they do need to be punished for this.
And that is first here tonight at 6. That still developing story that we were the first to bring you and have been there for every development since. A special needs teacher and 2 aides have been charged in an investigation into abuse inside a classroom at Horace Mann Middle School in Charleston. This is exclusive video of one of the aides, Walter Pinnell, as he was arrested today after a 2-week-long investigation by Charleston police. He's facing 2 battery charges against 2 children who were his students. They are both nonverbal.
And this is the other aide, Lillian Branham, also charged with battery. Police say she slapped a girl in the class with an open hand, grabbing the child by the chin. That girl is disabled and has Cornelia de Lange syndrome. And finally, the teacher in the classroom, his name is Anthony Wilson. He's listed on the school's website as a, quote, severe and profound teacher. Also charged with battery tonight. Police say this abuse was all caught on camera and happened on at least 2 occasions during the month of May. These disturbing allegations coming out just today with those criminal charges filed and with the filing of a civil lawsuit against the Kanawha County Board of Education.
We do have team coverage of the unsettling chain of events. Anna Saunders will break down how that abuse was caught. But first, we begin with Leslie Rubin, who has been investigating this story for more than a week and broke this story earlier today. She sat down exclusively with parents who say what they saw that happened to their children is unthinkable.
Callie, it really is a gut-wrenching case here with these parents demanding to know how long this had been going on inside this school behind me, why these three were in the classroom to begin with, and why more.
I want to get you updated on that breaking news now. A police-involved shooting that is Tyke Hunt getting an update. Before we toss out, though, we do want to mention that there could be some graphic language or video. Potentially, we will be dipping out if that happens, but for right now, let's listen in.
And with that, today we are going to show a video.
Continuing to follow the developing story out of Charleston, where a suspect armed with a knife was shot by police officers today. Just within the last half hour, Charleston police releasing body cam video of that incident and giving a press briefing that was hosted by the police chief. Danielle Dindak was at that briefing. She joins us now live from City Hall with the latest details as that investigation continues. Danielle.
Rick, a lot to digest from that press conference. We were shown 2 body cam videos.
2 officers fired.
Eyewitness News brought you inside with live press conferences, body cam footage, and team coverage.
As for Dickerson, he's in the hospital being treated.
While other news stations pass by, Eyewitness News was live. Every detail, every second, every screen. Your source for continuing team coverage, Eyewitness News.
Derek Evans got out on a personal recognizance bond, which means he did not have to put any money down, but just could leave on his own. Derek Evans left federal court with nothing to say.
Anything you want to say about what happened Wednesday?
But U.S. attorneys say his Facebook live stream from Wednesday said enough, showing him, quote, joining and encouraging a crowd unlawfully entering the U.S. Capitol.
Delegate Evans has been charged federally by entering that restricted area.
We have crews spread out at all of these crime scenes in Charleston. Eyewitness News reporter Anna Saunders beginning our coverage tonight where the shooting happened as we piece it all together. Anna?
Police just finished up wrapping up the scene, processing it right here at the Habitat Restore. Take a look at this video from just minutes after the shooting was reported here near Piedmont Road and Young Street. Now you can see police processing evidence markers, even taking that gun that was apparently used in evidence. It all started after a traffic stop. Not said exactly how many people were in the car. Now, anything you want to say before you go in there?
I ain't got nothing to say.
You want to talk a little bit about why you all were out there, why you were pulled over?
Nah, man, get out, get away.
A 30-year-old cold case is getting a fresh look from detectives after our I-team started asking questions about it. Eyewitness News reporter Leslie Rubin continues to bring these unsolved cases back into the public eye.
It's been nearly 31 years of mystery surrounding the gruesome murder of Lynn Priestley. The 34-year-old City of Charleston employee's naked body was found along the banks of the Canal River 5 days after she was reported missing in March 1990. There have been no arrests, no answers, and no justice for Priestley and her family, who have since gone to their graves, never knowing who killed her.
It was what it was. It was a very brutal, savage, sadistic killing.
More than 30 years ago, Jeannie Dreisbach made a promise.
We weren't going to go to our graves without pursuing this further.
A vow to find out who killed her best friend, Lynn Priestley.
And those things happen, but they don't happen to people you know and love. It was so unreal.
Now, just shy of 3 decades later, we're opening up this case in this latest Eyewitness News Investigates Cold Cases.
You know, not knowing where he is, that's the part that hurts.
That was 1991, and that was Bobby Adams's dad, still driving a CNH taxi cab just like his son, who at the time had been missing for 3 weeks.
I hate to think that he's dead, but, you know, under the circumstances, I can't think of anything else. He wouldn't have stayed away this long.
We're still under extended flood warnings after yesterday's heavy rains. Our Eyewitness News team has been out there all day gathering stories of people dealing with high water, water rescues, flooded roads, and homes.
We have team coverage for you this evening. Danielle Dindak is in St. Albans after speaking with neighbors trying to salvage their property. Alex Cordero is along the Little Coal River right now watching the water levels. But we begin with Eyewitness News reporter Anthony Kahn, who's been in Wayne County all day talking with people who were just getting over a massive ice storm and power outages. Anthony?
Yeah, Rick, it wasn't that long ago, and folks here are just about fed up with water at this point, and I'm along Lynn Oak Drive.
This is a live feed from our Sky Team drone, which is flying over Kanawha County right now. This is a look at the Clendenin area, where rising water from the Elk River has flooded a lot of neighborhoods. Of course, people in Clendenin took the brunt of that massive flood almost 5 years ago, so this is something to keep our eye on. And really a lot of places in our region in both West Virginia and Kentucky remaining under extended flood warnings as rivers are still a ways from cresting in some instances. This is a live look from our Eyewitness News Sky Team drone right now that's hovering right there over Point Pleasant. You can actually see the point right there. And from this vantage point, you can see how the Ohio and Kanawha have converged to create a mess out there. There are numerous roads that have been cut in that area, including some big roads like Route 62 and Ohio Route 7.
That ice forcing trees to fall across power lines and roads, making travel and repairs difficult for utility and road crews out there today. Sheets of ice covering everything, making roads impassable. Rural communities like this one here in Wayne County now isolated, leaving them with little to no access to emergency services.
In Putnam County, people have had to carve their way through some rough areas just to get to those emergency services and find places to stay warm. Debris adding to the obstacles people have to navigate around as they try to get out of their homes. And a warning tonight, if you're in a hard-hit area, don't venture out unless it's absolutely necessary.
Eyewitness News starts right now with severe weather.
And we begin tonight with the latest on that severe weather storm that has left tens of thousands without power.
Tonight, West Virginia Governor Jim Justice has declared a state of emergency in the hardest hit counties.
This is what a lot of people are facing right now. We are here along Hurricane Creek Road, and you can see a tree is just one of the examples. It has uprooted.
So many people struggling there right now with this storm. And that was proven true by just trying to get there and how difficult it has been due to road conditions like this road here in Cabell County, where many residents here are struggling themselves. The freezing rain has been too much for trees, taken down by the weight and creating a mess.
Eyewitness News starts right now with severe weather.
And by the way, we are streaming live on our app and on our Facebook page because we know so many people are without power and cable tonight, and we want to make sure that this important information gets to those who need it.
Because we just got a month's worth of rainfall in 3 days. Since Friday, most spots picked up at least 2 inches of rain, and some of us saw 4 to 5 inches of rainfall, especially from about the Huntington-Charleston corridor on down to the south through southern half of Kentucky and southwestern West Virginia.
An extremely busy 24 hours for our staff. And Brandon, you've been keeping a close eye on the potential flood impacts. Are we done with the rain for now?
Well, the good news is, Lauren, we are done with the rain, but those after effects can linger for several hours and in some cases days after the heavy rain pulls out.
Start to see the flow increase in speed, and it's also very murky when you look out and about. It is ugly out here, and this is just one of the many rivers that'll likely look like this. Of course, the Elk River, notable for its very high levels that it achieved a few years ago during 2016 with the massive flood there.
Alex, thank you. Continuing our team coverage now. Another river we're keeping a close eye on, the Pocatalico, which, as Brandon says, has reached its highest level since 1998.
And Sissonville Drive, one of the busier roads in the area here, is blocked by water, and there are 2 cars submerged out there, or a pickup truck and a car almost completely submerged behind me.
Extreme amount of high water surrounding this area. Just take a look around me right now. We would need a boat to get to Dry Branch Road, which is right down there.
Check in with Eyewitness News reporter Anthony Kahn. He's there live with a look at that area. Anthony.
Yeah, Lauren, it's just one thing after another for folks in the Wayne County area. And I'm in Lavalette right now, and over top of these houses on the other side is a creek, and that creek has flooded into this neighborhood. We're seeing an entire neighborhood really affected by this water.
Now, we have team coverage for you all morning. Dave Betton's joining us from home, and Lauren Talata and Ava Rash are out surveying the area in the tri-state region. Let's get to meteorologist Braden Stover right now in the studio in the Weather Center checking on things. Brandon, we were hopeful that all that rain we got over the weekend would move out, but now we still have problems with rivers cresting, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Jennifer. Starting with a big mess on this first day of March. March certainly coming in like a lion here. We've got widespread warnings across the entire viewing area. West Virginia, Ohio, Kentucky. These are flood warnings. That Hunter green shade, meaning that any stream, any creek may come out of its banks. But
tonight with our severe weather coverage, several areas dealing with flooding tonight. We do have team coverage.
That buildings have collapsed, and one of them is right behind me. I'm going to pan our camera over here, and Dexter's body shop, as you can see here, it's completely collapsed inside. It almost looks like a bomb went off inside. You can barely see cars, and you see power lines hanging down. And if you look over this way, you can actually see there's pieces of debris just following down the stream, and a giant car also in it.
In central Ripley, how's it looking right now?
It's looking a lot better than it did a half an hour ago.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
Yes, this garage had about a half a foot of water in it then.
Riverfront Park, obviously the Kanawha River running very, very high, but it's actually down 5 feet from where it crested last night. You can see along these railings, the leaves, the debris that was left there. That's how high the river got. But there is some signatures suggestive of at least a possible tornado. So that's right in between Harris and Fitch right there, kind of right on the county border. That's where we're seeing that rotation right now. We could switch over here. This is the velocity. So you're looking at wind here. And so where you see the red and the green coming together.
The parade doesn't start till 7. Let's actually go ahead and walk my own parade right now and talk a little bit about your forecast as we go into the overnight hours. Temperatures tonight, again, are going to fall down to about the low 40s tonight for this parade. So if you're coming out for it, you definitely want to make sure you're bundling up.
Here at ground level, right now, winds are about 10, 20 miles an hour. It's breezy. It's not too bad. But if you go up about 5,000 feet, those winds are screaming 70, 80 miles an hour. Now,
Marshall men's soccer wins the National College Cup title. Eyewitness Sports followed their historic journey through the championship to their triumphant return home. Congratulations, Thundering Herd.
A pair of Boone County high school football programs are under new leadership this season. At Sherman, Kevin Buzzard has the Tide rolling high with 3 wins in 3 games. Tonight, he takes his team to Madison to meet Jeremy Dolan's Scott squad. After an opening loss, the Skyhawks have reeled off 2 straight victories. It's a Boone County football battle with plenty of history. And on this Friday night, these 2 new head coaches take their place in the history books. It's Sherman and Scott from Madison in our Parmar Friday Night Rivals Game of the Week, presented by Eyewitness Sports. We welcome you inside Skyhawk Field on the campus of Scott High School in Madison, where tonight it is the homestanding Scott Skyhawks getting set to meet up with the Sherman Tide in a battle of Boone County.
Oh, it's Friday, and that means another edition of Friday Night Football Extras.
Get a final shot, 2.6 seconds to go. They huddle up. They inbound. Ty Knight playing like a cornerback, and then heaves it, and there's your game winner. 44-41. They rush the floor in Winfield. What a finish. Generals over the Dots.
There it says it right there. WCHS Fox 11 Tower of Toys, and it always kicks off right before Christmas time. We deal and work with very closely the Union Mission folks that help distribute the toys that you help us put in the homes of a child or a family that may not be able to put a toy in front of their child on Christmas morning. I can't believe that. I just can't think how horrible that must be. That's why we do it. That's why you step up. And
I know it sometimes can be a hassle to maybe go to Walmart and get backpacks and notebooks and stuff and do donations like that. So if you don't want to drop off a donation, you can also do monetary donations as well by texting TOOL to 313131. You can do a monetary donation. There is also a QR code on your screen. You can get that QR code. You can do monetary donations there and learn more information about Tools for School.